Hey, my name's Andrew, and in this video, we're talking about the Canon R10. I've owned this camera for about 4 months now, and so now I'm here to confidently give you guys my review of this camera, share my thoughts and opinions, and ultimately let you know if this is worth your hard-earned money. Let's start off with one of the big things that I really like about this camera, which is the camera body. In comparison to Canon's other smaller cameras and cheaper cameras like the R50 and R100, this one actually has a much bigger grip. It does still have a compact body, but when you're holding the camera, you can feel very confident in the hand because the grip is much bigger than those smaller cameras, and the button dial layout just feels really nice in the hand. You get used to it right away. I would say Canon does a really good job with their ergonomics, and it just feels really nice in the hand while you're using it. Of course, it has the viewfinder for photography that works really well, as well as a flip out screen if you want to do any vlogging. And yeah, I would just say overall Canon has really dialed in their cameras, and this one feels really nice in the hand. So, you know, getting good quality images out of a camera is obviously really important, but while you're using it, you want to have something that just feels really nice. So kind of the perfect in between beginner camera and more pro cameras. Up next, the price. This camera has been out for a while, so you can actually find it usually on sale or refurbished or used for about $700 to $800. So for that price, I think that's a great price for all the features that come with this camera. So as far as the price goes, I would say that's a pretty nice competitive price. Now up next, shutter speed. This camera is actually capable of getting some impressive shutter speeds. Older professional cameras, you know, back in the day, maybe like 10, 20 years ago, we're not even capable of getting close to the shutter speed that this beginner camera can get. So this can get 15 frames per second mechanical and 23 frames per second electronic. So with that impressive shutter speed, you're able to capture all kinds of high-speed action like wildlife, sports, or even pets or children, because I know firsthand they're not gonna sit still for a photo. Up next, image quality. This camera has, I believe, a 24.5 megapixel sensor, and that's an APS-C sensor, and the images that you're able to get out of this are really, really nice. Of course, everybody talks about the Canon colors being amazing, and of course, this is no exception. But yeah, overall, the photos I've been able to get with this camera have been exceptional. Now, another big one is the subject tracking. This camera is able to track people, animals, and vehicles, and after testing it out, it's actually pretty impressive how it knows there's an animal. It'll lock onto it and track that subject and keep it in focus. So whether you're a beginner or a pro, it's really nice to have a camera that just works. You don't have to think about, is my subject in focus? It nails it almost every time. Now, another nice feature is this camera is able to capture up to 2 hours of record time, and that's straight recording. Some older cameras were only able to record up to 30 minutes. So if you're gonna be doing any kind of long form content, whether that's podcasts or interviews or, you know, recording a wedding or something like that where you need to have a record limit that's longer than 30 minutes and up to 2 hours, having that on this camera is obviously a big check mark and, you know, a necessity if you are planning on recording any long form content. Now, as I mentioned, this does have an APS-C sensor, which some people would say is a con. They would recommend getting a full frame sensor, but having an APS-C sensor means that it's going to be cheaper than the full frame cameras, but also you're able to use some third-party manufacturer lenses like this Sigma 18-50. This one was just released on the Canon RF mount, and there's gonna be some more third-party lenses from Sigma coming here pretty soon. So I would say that's a big feature and a reason why I would go with a APS-C sensor camera like the R10 is because you're able to take advantage of these budget lenses from Sigma. They're some of my favorite lenses. And later this year, they're going to be releasing the 30mm, the 16mm, 23mm, and 56mm. And those all have an aperture of f1.4. So extremely good quality lenses, and you're able to use those on the Canon R10. Now, another one that is a kind of small feature, but I found is really useful is it does have a USB-C connection. You can use that to charge it, plug it into a computer if you want to do streaming or, you know, live streams or anything like that, business calls. So you are able to plug that into a computer, but you're also able to plug that into your phone and download photos and videos a lot faster using that USB-C connection. So that's really nice. I've tried it on some older Canon cameras and it doesn't seem to work. So having that connection is really nice. Of course, it does have wireless connection, so if you want to connect it to your phone and download photos that way, you can always do it that way too. So those are all my favorite features of the Canon R10. Now let's talk about some maybe potential setbacks. I would say one is the battery life isn't incredible. Having these small LPE 17 batteries isn't the best. I would love it if the camera batteries were bigger, getting a little bit more battery life out of it, but of course that problem is easily resolved by just buying some spare batteries, which I do have, and I've never really run into that problem just having the spare batteries. But that's one. Another one is I feel like Canon could maybe use a little bit better quality plastic on their cameras. Like if this was just a little bit more premium, I would say that would be, you know, awesome, but I do get that they're trying to use cheaper materials. It might seem like I'm making a stretch here to come up with any cons, and that is because I don't really have any with this camera. I think my favorite thing about this camera is that it just works. As I mentioned at the beginning, the body feels really nice while you're using it. Having a reliable autofocus and subject tracking is really nice. If I never really aspired to do anything more than just average, you know, user photography and video, I don't think I'd really need to upgrade past the R10. I have recently purchased the Canon R7. This has kind of been a dream camera of mine, but for the average Joe, I think for photography, I wouldn't need anything more as far as features or settings. This does everything that I need. But the reason I got the R7 is because it does have some more pro features. So I would say the only big setback to the R10 for me is just not having some of those more professional features. I do occasionally do like a wedding video or other, you know, video projects. So having those features on the R7 is a must-have for me. But the R10, like I said, if you are somebody who's just planning on doing just some casual photography, travel photography, you want to do outdoor wildlife or sports photography, the R10 has everything I think you need at a competitive price. At the end of the day, the Canon R10 just works. And if you are planning on upgrading in the future, it is going to be a good backup camera because they share a lot of the same features. So I would say if you are looking for a upgrade, if you have an older Canon camera and you want to get into the mirrorless game, or if you don't own any cameras and you're looking at a beginner camera, I think the R10 is the kind of camera where, I don't want to say near perfect, I don't know, I'm sure people could find different flaws with it, but in my experience, I haven't really had any major cons or reasons to send it back out. So if you have any comments or questions, leave those in the comment section below. If you did want to pick up this camera, I'll leave some links in the description. And if this video was helpful, don't forget to drop a like. If you want to see more content on the Canon R10 or the Canon R7, consider subscribing. And if you do, I'll catch you in the next video.